Why am I uncomfortably nervous?
My giant cursor is driving me crazy.
Why am I uncomfortably nervous?
Oh, you really? Come on, Nick.
My tummy hurts.
Get your act together. You have your own volume control. Everything's going to be okay.
Testing.
Uno, dos, tres.
Volume controlled. It sounds great.
Hola.
Am I yelling? Am I too loud? How loud are you supposed?
104.3.
Okay.
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 Are we live yet? Well, we
Hi,
can't.
Sai.
No, I don't want to talk to you till Brandon's here. What are you doing? Yeah. Oh, okay, sorry. Go ahead. Why don't you introduce what we're doing, Nick?
Hello, everyone. My name is Nick Chamberlain. This is Sai Kellett. He is the host of Catholic Answers Live, and we are going to introduce to everyone today the unknown, the secret, the video guy, Brandon Manderson.
Hi, Brandon Manderson. How are you?
Hello, Mr.
whoa.
Manderson.
I can hear myself.
I'm so glad to see you guys wearing your Booth People uniforms.
This is the uniform we
This is the one
do
that Sai makes us wear.
every day.
I
And
wish-
if not, he
that'd be
goes
so
to Chris
awesome if I
check
had
and
that.
like
I
yells
go,
at him.
I go complain. They're not wearing the gray. What's wrong with these youngins?
It's the uniform.
I should tell you, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, we're super happy to have you here with us. This is the pre-show. We call it Catholic Answers More. We do it from time to time. Usually one of the apologists is here, but today we have Brandon and Nick, who are both control room executives, or what do we? Is that what we call you?
Just a couple of nerds.
And if you have any questions, I'll try to monitor YouTube and Facebook both, but I'm not really good at that. So
yeah.
Yeah, neither am I. That's my job.
yeah, that's your
we're-
job. Let's talk about that. No, what is your job, Brandon? You've been with us now. It feels like 6 years, or how long has it been?
Yeah, probably just around 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years,
yeah.
or
Or months.
months.
Yeah, no, almost 7 months now.
Almost 7 months.
Yeah.
It just feels like so much longer. And all right, tell us about. Sorry, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. What do you do?
What do you do?
I
The video man.
yeah, so I've been a secret here for a while. Now here I am. What I normally do is sit in my office and edit all the YouTube clips of the show, pretty much anything that goes out on YouTube. And I do the show for like 2 hours and 15 minutes a day. I come in here and I operate the cameras, record the show, so we can send it over to Andrew and he can edit it on the. Whoa, sorry, microphones are new. I'm like a point your camera and sit down type of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we record the show and Andrew edits it and puts it on EWTN.
Oh yeah, the TV show, the big TV show.
Mhm.
And we've enjoyed having Brandon here, haven't we? He's a nice person.
We've enjoyed it thoroughly. It's oh my gosh, look what's going on out there. But it was funny when
Oh,
when Brandon very first started, his first day he turned on the video equipment, and then like we're recording within 5 minutes, everything shuts down.
Yeah.
And I just
Nice going.
cracked up and laughed for the first. He's like, "What do I do?"
It was a rough
He
first day.
blew up. In the first couple of weeks, every time there was a little incident that happened, it's like, "Oh, the new video guy."
Well,
Yeah.
And then
to be fair, though, we
any
were having a little
mistakes.
trouble with a computer overheating at the time, right? And you
still-
guys have a fan in there now.
Yeah.
Too,
Two fans?
and it's still overheating.
Totally wasn't my fault at all, right?
No,
No.
it wasn't. It was just, it was really funny.
You guys have worked together artistically outside of the environs of Catholic Answers.
Yeah, I took
Yes,
Nick's
sir.
headshot.
He took my
I know,
headshot.
I don't mean
If
to-
you look
That
at my
was hard in
Facebook
itself.
profile, you see his headshot that he took of me. No, but Brandon, explain the San Diego 48 hours and the 24-hour film festival activities.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'm like a wannabe filmmaker.
No, you're a filmmaker. No, what do you mean wannabe?
Well, I'm still in the process of like taking bigger steps. You know?
Yes, right. But what you do in the meantime is, what's that called? Make films.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're
yeah.
a filmmaker. Yeah.
So I joined the San Diego 48. I put in a bid for it, and we made it to the team, or we made it into the competition. And so what they do is they give you 48 hours. You get 2 genres you have to use, and then like 3 elements. and you have to go in 48 hours. You have to write, shoot, and edit and produce a film.
And how long
yeah.
is the film?
Our film it had to be over 4 minutes and under 8 minutes.
Okay.
So ours is about like 6 minutes long. But yeah, I asked Nick to come along because all of my other films have had awful audio.
And so you wanted to move up to like mediocre audio.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've never.
No, Nick was probably like the most professional person we had on set.
Of course, Nick's a pro. Nick's a
is
sound pro.
Yeah.
Well, that's the first time I've ever done anything like that before.
For video sound, you mean?
Yeah. So they gave me all the equipment.
Yeah.
And I just went out there. I felt kind of goofy, like with this big like microphone pointing
the
it at
dead cat.
people.
Yeah.
No, but I really enjoy the post production of putting all the sounds together and doing a little bit of sound design and mixing it all together to make all the scenes
It did sound really
visually
good, too.
flow together
yeah.
and like sonically flow together.
So editing is not at all new to you.
No,
It's just
no,
the
I just
being
took all
out-
the skills that I know and just put it in that format.
Right. From your editing of and mixing of rap music. That
Rap
probably
music,
helped.
country, rock, and podcast here
Yeah.
all day, every day.
Brandon, Facebook says you should do more special effects during the show.
More special effects during the show. All right, noted. We
Really?
can,
Like, what will you do? What kind of things do you have up your sleeve? Or like, I know you can blow me up, right?
we can do that. Yes.
And can you make dinosaurs like fly around in here? Or
Man,
come
that would
by?
be pretty awesome. I'd like to do like a practical effect for that if we could. Like real dinosaurs flying around in here.
Oh, that's called a practical effect. I'm gonna tell you how a microphone works, but you gotta.
Should I hold it? Am I supposed
just-
to like?
Stay as
run
close
around
as
like this?
possible.
No, I think it's really nice that so many of the staff came in for a Friday afternoon. Summer Fridays, it's just delightful here when people come in for the show, and then don't pay attention at all to anything we're doing in here. They
Yeah.
just
No.
stand around chatting with each
Gosh.
other. Marie's kind of paying
They're all
attention.
beautiful people.
They are all beautiful
Yeah.
people, and Marie too.
They can't hear us complimenting them.
Sorry, that came out wrong.
What else?
So will you be making more films, and will you two be working together?
Oh, this fun little project coming
yeah.
up.
Really?
Starting in August.
Oh, really?
1st.
And how big a film will this be?
This is going to be a series of 6 films that we're going to make in 6 months.
Okay.
So we kind of, especially after the 48, we had so much fun like working on that, and everybody there afterwards came up to me and they're like, "All right, when's the next project? When's the next project?" And a lot of those people hadn't had any experience in filmmaking before, so they were like really excited to keep working on stuff. So I was sitting down and I was really trying to like figure something out, and I was like, the 48, they give you this like box to fill in. So what if we give ourselves a box and we try to make something like that? Like if we could make something really good in 48 hours, what could we make in a month?
Yeah.
So
I know. Well,
yeah.
the most likely thing, right, would be procrastinate for 28 days, and then in 48 hours make something.
So yeah, we talked about that. We don't want to procrastinate, so we set like hard start and stop times, dates for things. So no matter what, things are going to be getting done, regardless of who's there and who's not.
And
it'll be
now, let me just ask you this real quick, so people know. You believe in Jesus,
yes, amen.
and you believe in the church. You're a Catholic.
I am.
Okay. So are your films all very churchy, or how do you look at it as a filmmaker?
I look at it as I don't want to make anything that like doesn't go along with my values. So
Okay.
while I'm not making things that are exclusively like be Catholic and do these things, I do think that my Catholic faith does have so much of a spin on the things that I make.
Right.
Because I don't want to make anything that's like dumb humor with a lot of cursing and like just
Yeah.
like dirty jokes or anything like that. I want to make things that are good for people.
Yeah, but you make
Yeah.
weird stuff too, though.
I do make a lot of weird
Like
stuff.
weird can be good. That can be
Yeah.
can be an interesting quality in a film. Like,
Yeah.
you're not a total, I don't know, linear and what's the word? Normal filmmaker.
Yeah.
No, I mean, so I like that about it. I like that about your sensibility. That it's good to be. What should I say? I mean, I guess sometimes we when we're trying to all right, I'm just going to come out and say it. Some of the films that are made that are meant to be good Christian films are a little bit treacly. a little bit sometimes. And I like the robustness of your films. They're challenging and interesting and
No, thank you.
weird.
Yeah, I think
little
everything
weird.
we're going to try to do is going to be super high quality.
Yeah.
You know, just like the best that we can do and not, you know, make it just like a low quality, awkward, like one of those Christian films. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of good Christian stuff is being done now,
Yeah.
but there was like a 20-year period there where it was like, you always kind of felt a little bit like you were, I'll go to support it. You know, like that was that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to support your films.
Oh,
I
thanks.
want you to make films that I want to come
Yeah.
to.
All
So
right.
get going.
So, how did the outcome of the 48 and 24-hour film festival go?
The 48-hour film festival, we took third place in the Audience Choice Award.
Nice.
So there's over like 70 films in there.
And that was the basketball one.
That was the basketball one.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So our genres for that we were given were drama and sports.
Uh-huh.
So we had to make a sports drama film, which was perfect because one of my actors for it is like one of my best friends, and he can do like these ridiculous dunks.
Yeah.
So we were like, all right, perfect. We'll do basketball. So that was fun. And then we actually just got selected into like the top 10 films of the entire thing based on judges. So the first one was from Audience Award.
Okay.
And then now we were selected into like the top 10 best of film for that. So that is screening again on the 28th.
Cool. And then the 24-hour?
The 24-hour one, yeah. So I also
Look at that little grin. Why is he grinning about the 24-hour?
the 24-hour
really
one
funny.
was
It's good.
super weird because we only had 24 hours. So and I had a crew of me and one other person, and then my dad and my uncle showed up to help us out for a little bit. And yeah, we ended up winning that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we took first place. That was
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
I think that was the one where I thought, oh, that's got a little bit of a weird sensibility to it, and that, I think that might be why you won because
Yeah.
it just was different. It had a voice. I really liked it.
Yeah, thank you.
Chi-Chi on Facebook wants to know why do you not play more of the groovy
Groovy
music?
music.
I think everyone wants to know that.
I
Why
wanna
not?
know that.
Well, we are actually trying to find new music for the overall theme for Catholic Answers Live.
We don't need to find it. You need to write
Or
it.
I need to
This
write
guy
it
is
and
so
create it.
talented, and he just needs to write it. But he's busy working with these rap stars or whatever.
I'm not working with.
It's mainly himself. He's the
minutes.
rapper. He's making his own music.
Look at how you guys look on there. Like you are like so twins
whoa.
on there. I
I'm
wish
like-
I had worn my gray shirt.
Oh, I know.
Milky
You should've
white. Oh,
Oh my gosh, self-conscious much? You just
that
look like
is
a normal
hilarious.
person.
You look like a Milky White
Wait,
ghost.
Marie just changed the camera angle.
Wow.
What's up,
Oh,
Marie?
she's up there working.
Wow.
Marie
But
is- look at
Oh,
that.
look, we're on there. Nice.
Okay, could I be in the
Okay.
shot again? I feel like I'm.
what were we talking about?
Oh, the groovy music, and
Groovy
you're
music.
going to write us a new theme song for Catholic Answers.
Yeah.
You know what I would like?
So
really,
stay tuned.
Let me give you just a prompt, and you write something like that.
Okay.
The theme from Hawaii Five-0.
You like that?
Just write something as good as that, and then we like that. People go, oh, there it is. Like when Hawaii Five-0 starts, that's like nothing else. It's just Hawaii Five-0.
No, that's what I wanted to do with Catholic Answers Live. As soon
Yeah.
as you heard it, like it's a very memorable like tune,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, that's Catholic Answers
Da,
Live.
da, 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 da. Da, da,
But-
da, da, da.
There's something better for
Da,
us.
da, 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 da.
Like, what do you pick though that's appropriate for, you know,
No, you just write a great thing.
evangelization, apologetics, Catholic?
No,
and
no, you have to stop thinking that
sometimes
way.
it's like super serious.
Look,
Sometimes it's super
listen,
silly.
think about Hawaii Five-0. Okay,
Uh-huh.
the theme to Hawaii Five-0. It's got
Well,
nothing to do with Hawaii Five-0. It's just like they're like, that's the coolest piece of surf music ever. So we'll take that. And it
know.
wasn't even really surf music.
But it's hard because sometimes our topics are very serious. And then like you have this like bubbly, happy music, and it's like super awkward and
So think more Law and Order.
Overthinking it.
I know I do overthink.
You need
it a
to
little bit.
do music like he does movies. Just go
Just
for
go
it.
for it.
Make something. Make something
Alrighty.
cool. Da, 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 da.
It's almost time for our transition.
It is.
We have to go behind.
Can you play Wipeout on the drums?
Yeah,
Go ahead. Do it.
I'll let that go next time.
Go.
No, next time. Next time. I got to leave
All
y'all
right.
hanging.
Thanks, Cy.
All right.
Thank
Now
you.
Trent's got to come in here, right? Mm-hmm. Make him come in. Hey, thanks for talking. It was nice to introduce you to Brandon. Now people know who you are. Brandon Manderson, your computer's right there. Nice work on the cameras, Marie. No, thank you.
Welcome to Catholic Answers Live, the program where you participate with your questions about apologetics and evangelization, including the most important theological, spiritual, moral, and social issues facing the world today. Call now with your question for today's guest. Toll free 1-888-31-TRUTH. That's 888-318-7884. Now, from San Diego, Catholic Answers Live.
Hello and welcome to our Great Big Friday edition of Catholic Answers Live. I should warn you, it might get a little goofy today because it's Flip Flop Friday here at Catholic Answers, where we were permitted to forego the wearing of shoes and just wear our flip-flops to work. Did you wear your flip-flops, Trent, or did you wore regular shoes?
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I misunderstood because all day I've been saying, I am going to go out for lunch. I'm not going to go out for lunch. I am going to go out. I thought the point was we were supposed to waffle on a decision to flip and flop.
Did you say waffle? Well, no, that's
Exactly what I was wondering. Should I go get a waffle or not? All day I've been flipping and flopping.
If there's one guy here, Trent Horn, that I think that's a guy that would really appreciate Flip Flop Friday, it's you.
Oh no, I do.
Like you're casual. You like a casual look.
Yeah,
California.
I have been. Remarks have been made about how I have tried to make other days like Flip Flop Wednesday, Casual Tuesday.
Yeah. By just wearing whatever you want when you come in here. Is that what you
the
mean?
The problem was I worked. I worked from home for 2 years.
Yeah.
So really, it was always like Pajama Friday, Pajama Thursday,
Yeah.
Semi-formal Wednesday.
Semi-formal Wednesday.
You
really?
have to spice it up a little bit to get through hump
Did
day.
you have ruffles and a tux?
Well, just to know today is special. But otherwise, it's a lot different coming in an office, but it's a lot better because you stop being isolated and, making volleyballs your friends and things like that.
If I could just tell you this, when I used to work for Immaculate Radio, I did a morning show, and I did it from my home studio. And so I went in and started, and you talk to the engineer first before you go on the air, and he goes, "Oh, you work from home, you're probably working in your pajamas today." And then he felt bad, and he's like, "I'm sorry, that was disrespectful. I'm sure you're not in your pajamas." I was so in my pajamas at that time. Of course I'm working. It's radio. I can wear whatever I want.
Right. So I guess then the question there is, do you say anything, and is your stunned silence a kind of deception or lie? I don't think so.
I had to tell him. I mean, I think he felt bad, and I was like, "No, I'm actually wearing pajamas right now." But today I'm wearing flip-flops, and it might get a little goofy, but it's also a very serious day because we are asking our atheist listeners to call us and tell us why you are atheist. We enjoy talking with atheists. We are believers ourselves. Well, let me check in. You're still a believer, yes?
Yeah, I'm on the flop, so I'm back to being a believer now. I should stick there for about 2 hours.
No, you can't flip-flop about that. You got to stay.
Well, you guys should have been more specific about what Flip Flop Friday meant.
All right, sorry. Next time
Okay.
we'll be more careful in the memo.
Thank you.
If you are an atheist and you'd like to share with us why you are, we'd be happy to have that. As a matter of fact, we'd be delighted to have that conversation with you. 888-318-7884 is the number. 888-31-TRUTH. Trent is our guest, and Trent is an apologist here at Catholic Answers, the author of many things, including Why We're Catholic, Persuasive Pro-Life, Hard Sayings, and probably most useful for today, Answering Atheism, which is your second most popular book, I found out today.
Really?
I didn't know that. Did you know that?
No, I did not
Carrie
know
told
that.
me that. Yeah, it's second best-selling of your books, Answering Atheism. Can you guess what's first?
I know exactly which one couldn't possibly be first, but I've heard a lot of...
Can I give you a hint?
You can give me a hint.
It's not what saints never said. Sorry.
No, it's... if I had to take a guess, given the fact that it has about 148 reviews on Amazon, probably my book, Why We're Catholic.
Why We're Catholic, yeah.
Written for a broad audience.
Yeah.
And it's funny, actually. I'm speaking to a few people who have read What the Saints Never Said, and they all had the same reaction to it. They said, "I really, really did not want to read your book, but then I did, and I really liked it."
Yeah, because it's probably that there's more to it than people think there is. I think that might have been like when it says things the saints never said. I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's probably just like a few quotes that saints." But you get into the theology of
Right.
of what is sometimes said. Okay, the saint said this. And you'll say, "No, that saint didn't say that," and you'll explain where it actually comes from, and it's usually from some weird 19th century person we never heard of, and that's not really true. But then
It's
you'll
also weird 20th century people.
yeah, like right. But then you'll explain either why that's not even a Catholic thing, like a Catholic a saint is very unlikely to have said anything like that, or why something else that the saint said is actually better, more adequate expression of that kind of thought. So I think that might be it. I don't know.
No, I think that people can see there, and I draw the true theology and also include things the saints really did say that we often overlook, the quotes we should be quoting. But I had no idea Answering Atheism was my number 2 best-selling book. So, I mean, I think that many people know atheists in their life. They have friends who identify as atheists or family members. And in fact, there are usually a fair number of atheists or agnostics or non-religious people who listen to our radio show. That's why it'd be really awesome if they wanted to call in and, why are you an atheist or agnostic, whatever term you use for yourself. It's a great conversation to have.
888-318-7884 is the number, 888-31-TRUTH. And if you would like to present us with a challenge that you would like us to take up, I'm perfectly comfortable with that because Trent will have to answer it. And so hit us with your best shot. But maybe you also just have a question that you're like, why? How could you believe this? Or I don't understand how religious belief works. And we can have a nice discussion. If you are an atheist, we welcome your call. 888-318-7884.
And who knows, maybe Pat Benatar will give a call right now because you said you wanted them to hit us with their best shot.
Yes. That's probably Pat Benatar's best song. Is it? Do you even?
Or number 2.
Or what would be number 1 be? You really like 80s music, don't you?
I am kind of a fan.
I can't remember if that was 80s or 70s, though.
I want to say that it was
Hit
80s.
me with your best shot. I'm a really good rock and roll singer.
Oh,
Sorry.
well, we can always talk about this later on. Yesterday, I was at Comic-Con, and they had a special panel on the nerdiest year of the 20th century. They considered it 1988.
That was the nerdiest year of the 20th century?
Or just something to look back on with fondness from nerddom. Movies like Die Hard, classic cult comedies like A Fish Called Wanda, a lot of, at least for cult and nerdy films and iconic films, things like that. So that was just one of the interesting panels there. But we can always discuss Comic-Con fun at another point in the show.
888-318-7884, the number. I do think, Trent, a lot of people who are atheists today, I don't know what the motivation for it is. I suppose we'd never even fully know our own motivations for things, but the explanation for it is connected to science. Is connected to, well, science has made an adequate exploration of things, and science is what I'm going to base my life on. That's why I don't believe in God.
Sure. I think that there is an idea that the most reliable form of knowledge we have, the one that if something is very important to us, we should entrust it to the scientific method, comes from the fact that science does have a lot of explanatory power. And I think a lot of people listening like science, and I myself as well, they really like it because of technology. Not just for science's ability to discover new aspects of nature, give us new laws, things like that. We live in, obviously the most technologically advanced age of all time, and technology has been a great time saver. It's allowed us to do things we've never been able to do before. And so we stand in awe of what man has been able to achieve with technology, and that's through applying scientific principles. But at the same time, just because something is very effective for us, just because it's able to accomplish a lot of good, doesn't mean we should put all of our eggs into that basket. Because, for example, there are really, really big questions that science just cannot answer. Even with technology, like you might sit at home, you've got your smartphone, you've got your laptop, you have your GPS, you have all these great things that science has given you to learn, explore, do things in the world, but you might still sit there and think, what should I be doing with my life?
Yeah, right.
Why am I here? And then you sit there and your phone and your computer and all your technology just kind of stares back at you. And if anything, it kind of distracts you from those important questions. And then you sit there and you're like, why was I on Instagram for 3 hours? What's going on? That it sucks you away from the questions that are very, very important about what am I? What is my purpose? Why is there anything at all? Is there a purpose for the universe or me? Where did everything come from? And those are philosophical questions that science can give us facts to help answer, but ultimately we have to apply philosophy to arrive at the final ultimate truth.
So is that what you're going to be talking about at the conference? Because we got the big conference coming up. It's Faith and Science.
I will be talking about science, but not Instagram. I still don't totally understand it. I think it's for people who are attractive and go on vacation in very sepia-toned places.
Are there sepia-toned places, or
that's what I seem to see on Instagram.
I think that might be a filter. I don't know.
I wouldn't know. I'm not on Instagram. I don't know.
But you are going to be at the conference.
I will be at the conference.
Dr. Stacy.
Very excited.
Well, anyway, I just want to let people know while we're on it. Faith and Science, Friends or Foes, September 27th through 30th at the Hyatt Regency La Jolla, right here in beautiful sunny San Diego. It's being organized by our own Erica Olson. She used to be, well, never mind. She's Erica Olson now. Hi, Erica.
Hi.
So tell us, how's it going with the conference? Can people still come? Or is it sold out?
I'm curious what I used to be.
Used to be not married and
I
not
used to
Olson.
be not married and not Olson.
Now we call you Mrs. Olson.
I know. Some people call me Sanchez, and I think that's really confusing because that was never my last name, but that's okay.
I know. I think I did that to you once, but
A lot of people.
well, in any case, Mrs. Olson.
Thank you.
Do we still have spots available or no?
We do. We have
Oh.
spots available. They are going fast, especially the full ticket. I want to stress that today. The full ticket only has a limited amount of seats, and that's where you're going to be able to hear Cardinal Burke speak. He's giving his keynote address at the banquet dinner. And the banquet dinner only has a limited number of seats, and those are going fast. So if you want to listen to that speech, you need to get a full ticket and you need to get in now. The other thing I want to stress is that we did run out of our room block.
Oh,
It's 100% sold out. However, we were able to still get a limited amount of rooms added to the room block.
so you can still get the.
You can't get the $149 rate. It's at $179, but that's still about $50 or $60 less than you would pay
Okay.
at the regular site, at the regular hotel rate. So we still have a discount on it, but we only have a limited number of added rooms to that block. So you want to make sure if you're coming from out of town, you want to get those rooms booked fast because I only have a handful left.
Okay, you go to CatholicAnswersConference.com.
Yes.
That's how you sign up. We'd love
Yes.
to see you there. It's already looking like it's going to be one of the greatest conferences ever. I mean, if I'm
It's
not
our
saying that I
most
hope
well
this,
attended so
but it's
far.
already the biggest Catholic Answers conference we've ever
Yes.
done. So I'm going to just list some things. You tell me if these things are going to be there or not. Jimmy Akin square dancing.
Yes.
Jimmy Akin M&Ms.
Yes.
We already said Cardinal Burke keynote.
Yes.
Parachuting off the building.
Absolutely. By Cy Kellett.
That's not happening. I thought you were going to tell the truth. All right, Erica, thanks.
Sorry, no skydiving.
All right, we're going to talk to atheists. who are
Thanks
gonna,
for having
I
me.
think it
share-
would be base jumping.
Base
right?
jumping?
Base jumping off the Hyatt. So probably would void our insurance policy with them.
Might void our life. I don't know. I'm pretty sure if I did it, it would.
Those things too, but priorities, Cy, priorities.
Yes, right. The most important thing is the insurance. 888-318-7884 is the number. We've had our fun. We'd like you to have your fun. Give us a call, 888-318-7884. If you are an atheist, an agnostic, an unbeliever, a free thinker, a bright, or however you put it, we'd love to talk with you about your atheism. Give us a call, 888-318-7884. Trent Horn, our guest. We'll be right back with more after this on Catholic Answers Live.
Divine Intimacy Radio.
When you engage with the wisdom of saints this way, it stokes the fires of God in our hearts, encourages us, strengthens us, and gives us wisdom to deal with the difficulties of life. It also gives us wisdom that allows us to rise above all of the junk, to live with joy and peace in the midst of even the most difficult circumstances.
Divine Intimacy Radio. Sunday, 6:30 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 11 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Pope Francis said, "The key that opens the door to the faith is prayer." Join St. Paul Street Evangelization by running a prayer station in the public square. You don't need to be a professional apologist or theologian. Just listen to the needs of the people you encounter. Offer encouragement, take prayer requests, and pray with people. Find out more and get involved today at streetevangelization.com. That's streetevangelization.com.
Call now with your question, 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Why are you an atheist? That's our question of the day today. If you're an atheist and you'd like to share with us why you're an atheist, why you don't believe in God, 888-318-7884 is our number. Trent Horn, the author of Answering Atheism, How We Can Make the Case for God with Logic and Charity, is our guest this hour and next. And we got lots of calls. Trent, are you ready?
Sure.
You're prepared? All right. Kiefer in St. Joseph, Missouri, listening on 106.1 FM. Why are you an atheist, Kiefer?
I'm an atheist. I used to be Catholic for a long time. I'm an atheist now because I took some time and was honest with myself and said, do you really believe what you say you believe? And I struggled with it for a long time, a crippling fear of hell. And I remember being a child laying in bed at night crying, praying, saying, I believe, I swear I believe. But just like I couldn't convince you to believe in Santa Claus, you could say you believe in Santa Claus, but you don't really believe in Santa Claus because you trust evidence and you trust what you can see. And the fact of the matter is I tried talking to priests about it. I tried talking to my parents about it, and it always came back to faith. It always came back to you have to have faith. And I always said there is no position on earth that I could take or that I could not take based on faith. I could think that black people are better than white people and say, I take that on faith, and that's all I need is faith. Faith is the excuse people give when they don't have a justified reason for believing in something.
Okay.
I know you guys say that faith is the belief in the unseen, but it's the exact same thing. If I can't see it, I can't measure it, there's no way for me to manifest it in reality, then that's taking it on faith. And I simply cannot lie to myself and do that.
Lie to yourself. Okay, let me sort through a little bit of this here, Kiefer, so we can have a good conversation on the different things that you brought up. One point relates to faith, and the other relates to Santa Claus. Let's talk about faith for a minute. How do you define the term faith? Because from my understanding, the term faith in common parlance, common usage of it, refers to having a trust or a confidence in someone or something. I have faith that the bridge we're driving on won't collapse. I have faith in this thing that I built; it's sturdy. I have faith in John that he will finish our group project. I have faith in God that he will save me from my sins and that he's really revealed himself to me. So do you think there's anything wrong with defining faith simply as it's a kind of trust or confidence in someone or something?
No, yes, you're completely perverting the term of faith, and especially how I'm using it.
Okay,
No.
well, how would you define faith then?
Hang on, let me finish. Well, let me finish my sentence, and I can get to that.
Okay.
If I'm driving on a bridge, like you say, I don't have faith that it's not going to collapse. I have a justified reason to believe it's not going to collapse because either I have driven over this bridge many times before, I see cars driving over it before right now, I have at no time in my life ever seen a bridge collapse, so I have justified evidence to tell me that, hey, you can cross this bridge. I do not have a single shred of that to believe that there is a divine genie in the sky guiding my life. So, no. Saying that I have faith that the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl this year. I suppose you could say that, but the definition of faith, having faith in a God, having blind faith in a God, the way that you are currently using it, no, that is not how I use the word faith, and that's not how most, if not every atheist, uses the word faith.
So just to summarize, so you're saying just one sentence, so are you saying that you don't have faith in anything, or you do have faith, but it's some kind of trust based on evidence?
I have justified reasoning based on evidence for specific outcomes that guide me through my life. I do not have blind faith in anything.
Well, it seems to me
the way that you use the word faith.
Right. Well, Kiefer, it seems interesting because you use the term blind faith. It seems like you're using an adjective to show us there's a bad kind of faith, which is blind faith. Rather, other kinds of faith are just trust, and we can have faith that's blind or faith that's built on something that's solid. You have faith the bridge won't collapse based on previous experience with it, though I will say that I don't think that's necessarily... I mean, that's common reasoning is what we use, but it's not absolute. It reminds me of the story of Bertrand Russell and the chickens, that the chickens were all in Mrs. O'Henry's yard, And they said to one another, every day we've been out here, Mrs. O. Henry comes out and gives us the chicken feed, and she's always done that. So surely that's what she's going to do today, because that's what she's always done. And then Mrs. O. Henry went out and cut their heads off. That just because things have always been a certain way in the past, it doesn't follow they'll be that way in the future. So I think that you and I can actually agree. I think that people should believe things based on good reasons, and I think there's good reasons to believe that God exists and that God created the world, and I'm happy to talk to you about that. You and I have an agreement. You just shouldn't have blind faith. You shouldn't have just believing something just because you want it to be true. I do think people can believe in God because they've had a personal experience of God. If God exists, he can reveal himself to someone. That might not convince you, but you don't have access to that person's heart. But I think that you can have good reasons for believing in God. Has anyone ever shared, besides just faith, has anyone ever shared those kinds of reasons with you?
I went to 12 years of Catholic school. I had 2 hours of Bible study every day. I went to Mass twice a week. I read the Bible from cover to cover twice in my life.
Okay.
I have sat down and discussed my atheism with priests, with Protestants, my Protestant wife's family, their preacher. I've talked to everybody, and everybody seems to go to the Bible, and then I hit them with, well, how do we know that anything in the Bible is true? And it comes back around. It always turns into circular arguments from the theistic side. It always turns into something like that. And then if I can, just one last thing, whenever I go through my life, and whenever you go through your life, or anybody goes through their life, there's not a single thing that we use strictly faith for. And if I were to tell you, I have a purple dragon in my garage right now, and you should take that on faith, you're not going to say, okay, well, I believe you. You're going to say, well, show me the evidence. And then I say, it's personal experience. The dragon has to reveal itself to you. Mm-hmm. You just have to really, really pray really hard and have faith in this purple dragon, and he will reveal himself to you. And I'm sorry. Saul was good enough for a Damascus Road conversion. Evidently, I'm not. And if there is a God, he knows exactly what it would take to convince me, and he either doesn't exist or he has chosen not to reveal himself.
Are you willing just to examine an argument for God and just follow reason, that if there's an argument and there's no errors in the reasoning and the premises are true, that it could lead to a conclusion that there's an ultimate creator of reality that we call God? Are you willing to get?
Absolutely not. That's another common apologetic.
Wait. You don't believe in philosophical arguments? You don't believe in logic?
Can you let me finish my sentence before you put words in my mouth? What I am saying is logic is a tool that was invented by human beings to help us walk through our everyday lives and determine which path to take. However, just because something can sound reasonable in an argument, just because you can connect the dots from A to B to C to D, whatever you want to do, like for an argument with God, just because it may sound logical, it sounds like it makes sense, that does not mean it is true. You get published and you show me
Kiefer,
clear
can I ask you a question?
God,
Kiefer,
and then I will listen.
Kiefer, by that reasoning then, could I say just because your atheistic claim on the show sounds reasonable doesn't mean it's true?
You don't have to believe what here's the difference, is I'm not trying to preach my beliefs to you. You asked me to call you and explain my position.
Absolutely. And
I couldn't care less what you believe, or what anybody believes for that matter.
Well,
the fact of the matter is I have to be honest with myself, and I can't convince myself to believe in Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster or Santa Claus or Jesus any more than I could.
Kiefer,
than you could.
And I don't mean to cut you off. It's just because of live radio, we have time constraints and we have a break coming up. Is it okay? I know you said you don't care about what I believe. Is it okay for me to care about what you believe? Because I think that if God exists and we're created in his image, so if we have immortal souls, we will live forever. And I would like you to spend forever with God and to be happy forever. So is it okay for me to care about what you believe and try to give you reasons to believe what I believe, to share in that really, really good thing?
So once again, that kind of comes back around to a threat, believe in God or else. I don't necessarily, depending on what God you're talking about, if you're talking about the God of the Abrahamic religions,
Kiefer,
I don't know if I want to
how is
eternally
I
with him.
saying how is saying that I want to share something that makes me happy and can make you happy forever a threat? Isn't that just a wonderful, gracious offer? How is that a threat in any way?
Well, because of the implications. What happens to me if I say no, if I say I do not believe in God? In your belief, the thing that makes you happy, what is the consequence if I say no?
It's possible you might spend eternity apart from God, but that would be something that we all can freely choose. I'd like to help you not do that. Unfortunately, we have a lot of other callers. If you'd like to stay on the line, Kiefer, please stay on the line. We'll get your email. I'll send you a copy of my book, Answering Atheism, and then you can always call back and we can discuss that, okay? So please stay on the line. We'll send you a book of reasons. Then you can call back and we can discuss those.
Thanks, Kiefer. Right back after this on Catholic Answers Live.
Catholic Answers Live.
Don't you just love listening to Trent Horn on Catholic Answers Live? Did you know that you can arrange for Trent or any of our great speakers to come and speak at your next conference or parish event? You can book Trent online today at CatholicAnswersSpeakers.com or by calling one of our seminar coordinators now at 619-387-7200 to get more information.
In a culture that worships the pursuit of sexual pleasure, the Catholic Church's teaching on contraception can seem archaic and unintelligible. Its critics say it is outdated, theologically unfounded, and even harmful. And even faithful Catholics can have difficulty explaining this moral teaching. Catholic Answers is out to change all that. That's why we've just released Trent Horn's dynamic new DVD, The Case Against Contraception, using scripture, papal and magisterial teaching, natural law, and new insights provided by social science and medicine. Trent put forward a compelling case for Catholic teaching with his trademark charity and persuasive graciousness. Be prepared to give a defense. Order your copy of The Case Against Contraception today by calling 1-888-291-8000, logging onto the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Hi, this is Trent Horn, and I'm here to tell you about a very special promotion we look forward to every year, our annual store-wide summer sale in the online shop at Catholic.com. This spectacular online event includes savings of 10 to 25% and more in some cases on every book, tract, CD, DVD, ebook, and MP3 we carry, including my new book, What the Saints Never Said. With lower prices and a great selection, it's by far the best online Catholic sale of the summer. So log on now and all this month to the shop at shop.catholic.com and take advantage of our very special prices. You know it's all good stuff because it's from the people you know and trust at Catholic Answers.
I'm Tom Price.
And I'm Gloria Purvis. Monday, we'll bring you all the Catholic news of the day, along with interviews with newsmakers and our godly counsel.
Join us for Morning Glory, 7 a.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Now, back to Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. Trent Horn is our guest. Trent is an apologist here at Catholic Answers, a speaker and debater extraordinaire, author of 613 different books, or roughly that. That's a rough.
613?
Yeah.
I did not write. Maybe you must have been reading the Torah a little bit much. That's. I don't know if you picked that number at random, but that's the number of prohibitions and commandments in the Torah that a Jew is obliged to follow.
I wonder if that was that was in my consciousness somewhere. I don't know.
613.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you did not write the commandments, though. I'm fairly certain of that.
Yeah.
But you did write some books, including Answering Atheism,
Yes.
and we're talking with atheists today. If you're an atheist and you'd like to share with us why you are an atheist, we'd love that. 888-318-7884 is the number. We go to an anonymous caller in Boston, Massachusetts next. Anonymous, you are on with Trent. Why are you an atheist?
Hello, can you hear me there?
We can, yes.
Okay. First, I'd like to know, what's your definition of an atheist? Because you haven't described that for your audience.
Well, sure, Anonymous. I have a particular definition, but more I want people to call in who call themselves atheists or agnostics, and I know the definition differs from people. I would define an atheist this way. An atheist is someone who says who does not believe in God for one of two reasons. One, because there is no God, or two, because there are no arguments or evidences that convince the person God exists. So they don't believe in God for one of those two reasons.
Okay, that seems reasonable there, because there are, within the atheist community, I just wanted to make sure that the theist community is communicating properly to your own members who atheists are, instead of who you're painting us to be. So yes, I am an atheist because I haven't been convinced that the supernatural exists, and but I'm also an anti-theist as well, because I don't find religion beneficial to society. But as for my atheism, if that's even really a term, which I don't really believe the word atheism is a thing, because there's no tenets or dogma or leadership worship or anything at all like that within the atheist community. We're individuals who just happen to have not been convinced yet of the existence of the supernatural.
Well, Anonymous, I mean,
there are no
right, but Anonymous, you would say that within the sphere of politics, there are a group of people who simply reject the idea of government, and they would be called anarchists. They're people who don't believe in ordered government, and we would place those in that sphere when studying the issue of government. And then when it comes to God, they're just the people who don't believe in God because of either a lack of evidence or they say God does not exist. So, it's like an atheist, one who rejects God, is like an anarchist, one who rejects government. I'm not saying atheists are anarchists. I'm just saying that it is a kind of system, even if they're only united in what they reject.
That's okay. Then there's a system for atheism is the default position everybody's born into. So you're suggesting that there's a system where everybody, before they're convinced of something.
No, because the way I defined atheism, and then hopefully we don't have to spend a ton of time on this. An atheist is a person who does not believe in God. One, because they think God does not exist, or two, they have not found the evidence or arguments presented to them compelling. They are not convinced by the arguments or evidences for the existence of God. And I think an implicit assumption into that is an atheist is someone who is capable of understanding God and of understanding the arguments for God, but rejects them. So they reject the existence of God. They make a claim. They have encountered something, and so they reject it for one or more reasons. And my question is, I wonder, why did they reject those certain things, like the arguments for the evidences for the existence of God that believers have postulated? That's what I'm interested in finding out.
Okay. Well, as an atheist, I don't believe there's any evidence of the supernatural. There are arguments that people put forth, logical conclusions that bring them to conclude that the likelihood of the supernatural is being there. Mm-hmm. But there's no actual evidence that I've ever been exposed to that shows causality between this evidence to it being responsible based on the supernatural.
Well, by evidence, I wonder if you just mean something we have identified in nature, a fact, something we observe that's physical with a microscope or a telescope? Because I would agree, because God is immaterial, eternal, if he exists beyond space and time and is not composed of matter, we can't directly detect God. We have to infer his existence through a philosophical argument to show he's the foundation of reality itself. And so I think that philosophical arguments have their place. Do you think that you could use logical reasoning to start from what we do observe, like in the universe, to a creator of the universe, in the same way we look at a painting or some other created thing and logically infer a creator or a painter? So do the arguments, is it possible that they succeed? And then if so, maybe we could talk about one of them.
Sure. The way that we contrast creation from nature is we look at nature that is, by definition, not created. But theists go into the existence of everything to say that that's a creation, the way that a painting is a creation from an individual. But we know that a painting is a creation from an individual because that doesn't naturally occur in nature.
Sure.
Nature is the contrast. But the theists are claiming all of reality is the painting. Well, there's nothing to contrast all of reality against something that was not created for there to be a creation.
Well, I think that we can still make this comparison, that like with a painting, we see an arrangement of colors towards a certain end that either can't happen naturally or the odds of them happening naturally are incredibly slim, practically none. And so there's different arguments one can make for the existence of God based on those two things. So just as paintings don't come into existence from nothing, they're caused. If the universe itself came into existence from nothing, it too would have some kind of creative cause, and we would deduce the nature of that cause. Much the same, our universe, if the odds of having a universe where life can even exist at all, and this has been discovered in the past 50 years by physicists who've seen that if the laws of nature were tweaked ever so slightly at the molecular level, if they were we were talking about factors in the in 1 in 10 to the 100th power, that if the laws of physics were altered, there would not be a life-permitting universe at all. Well, if the odds of getting a random splotch of paint to recreate the Mona Lisa or winning, 10 royal flushes in a row in a hand of poker, if you're more likely to get that than a universe where life can even exist at all, then that would actually count in favor that our universe is not accidental. And so that's another argument for God dealing with the fine-tuning of the fundamental elements of the universe. So those are two things we could talk about, either the tuning of the very laws of physics themselves, or if the universe came from nothing in the finite past, both of which I think point to God.
Sure, we could go into those if you like, but how long is your program for these calls?
Well, we have about 3 minutes until our next break, so we could pick either one and talk about them. Maybe we should pick one and then we could discuss it.
All right, I can do fine tuning real quick.
Sure.
Numbers are just adjectives that we use to describe the experienced reality, and these astronomical numbers seem astronomical based on a reference of human beings on how limited we are in our own precisions for how precise we can be.
Okay.
If you want to say something is x to the minus 10 billionth power, well, so what? That's just the number that describes that function of reality. That's just what it is. For that to be able even to be considered to be changeable, you have to understand how universes are created, which we don't, to know if those numbers are changeable at all. And besides, if I have, for an example of precision, I can have 2 apples sitting on my desk. That's 2 followed by 1 to the infinity amount of zeros. That's more precise than your fine-tuning numbers.
Wait, I don't follow you. 2, but wait, Anonymous, I don't quite understand. 2 followed by a decimal point and an infinite number of zeros is the same as 2 followed by 1 0. You're just describing the same thing in 2 different ways. Now the odds of taking an apple and throwing it into a blender and then you pour out the chunks and it spells "don't eat me," well, I think we would do much higher exponential odds there of something like that happening that has some kind of value built into it. And if there's even greater odds that we would not have a universe with something as valuable as life in it, that, for example, the odds of getting the force of gravity just right, the odds of that particular force being right so you can have a life-permitting universe, you are more likely to have found a random atom somewhere in the known universe that's marked than you would to get gravity right for there to be life. So I think that if we see something happening against all conceivable odds that produces something with value like us, that should clue us into some kind of design. I don't think the example you gave with the apples and the decimal points really relates to that.
I disagree, because we're applying significance to the idea that the life is the purpose of the universe because of the idea, which is one reason why I'm anti-religious is because it's egocentric. It assumes that we are the purpose of this universe. We're no more the purpose of this universe than we are for black holes. It seems universes are created for black holes than they are for us. Mm-hmm. It seems like the universe is created for non-life than it is for life. And because that's just spelled out just from experiencing reality. Mm-hmm. But we value life because we understand our mortality. Mm-hmm. It doesn't need to be assigned to us, but we value the things that are important to our survival. Mm-hmm. And so obviously we would be afraid of a universe that has different gravitational constants where we wouldn't be the result of that because we wouldn't exist. Mm-hmm. And we're afraid of non-existence because we value being alive.
Right.
Religion is putting its value judgments onto reality and therefore saying it's important because we're here. That's the egocentricness of religion and what it teaches.
Well,
it assumes that we are...
Sure. Anonymous, I would disagree with you on that point that we notice this because we're afraid of our own mortality or something like that. Even non-religious astronomers and physicists ask this very same question because it's incredibly peculiar. It's just incredibly peculiar that of all the different kinds of universes that we have, and I agree with you that the vast numbers of them would have things like space in them or objects. But the fact that this tiny sliver of a tiny sliver, an infinitesimal sliver of nothing would have life in it when it could be completely different, when it really just should be different, much cries out for an explanation. And a good book on this by people who are non-religious would be the book Just Six Numbers by Martin Rees, for example, the British royal astronomer, that even non-religious scientists try to figure out, well, why is it this case? Instead of saying, well, it's just some kind of a coincidence. Because, we might say, let's say, we see a group of people playing poker. They used the poker example earlier. And one of the guys wins 10 games with 10 royal flushes in a row. People are going to ask, well, how did he do that? How did that happen? And imagine if we just responded, well, why does that matter? You're only asking that because you're mad that you lost money. If you weren't in this poker game or you didn't lose money, you weren't involved, you wouldn't really care. And yet we certainly do care because of all the different ways it could turn out. It's incredibly rare it would go to this with something that has, and I do think life has intrinsic value. Most people do recognize that, even atheists agree. And so some kind of explanation requires itself that if we think that poker game is rigged because the odds are so against it coming out, 10 royal flushes in a row, I think we should think the universe is equally rigged in the same way because it's even more improbable we should have a life-permitting universe. So Martin Rees has a book on that, though. I think there is a gentleman who wrote a book on this. It's like something called The Improbable Universe. I think I can find it really quick here that I would recommend. It's Luke Barnes. He wrote a book called The Fortunate Universe. So I think that'd be
Anonymous. We have to take our break as well. If you want, it's entirely up to you. Hang on the line and give if you want this, just give your address to Marie, and we'll send you Trent's book, Answering Atheism. It's at least something you can engage with if you'd like to, and call back when you've, if there's something you want to challenge or question Trent about when he is on again, because one of the things that happened around here is Trent's on like every week. It just keeps happening. We try to stop it, but it just keeps happening. So, Anonymous, I really appreciate the tenor of that call. It was a great privilege to talk to you. I'm sorry that we have to move on. And if anybody wants to buy Answering Atheism, did you know it's among the things that are on sale right now, Trent?
I did not know that.
There's like about I was going to exaggerate, but there's a lot of books, tracks, CDs, DVDs, digital products, all that stuff over at shop.catholic.com, which is our shop. And stuff there is 25% off right now, maybe even more than 25% off on some things. You don't need a promo code. You just go, you shop, you save. Hundreds of great resources on sale. Go now to shop.catholic.com. We'll be right back with more Why Are You an Atheist with Trent Horn right after this.
Among the many arguments relativists give to prove their worldview, one is that moral beliefs change. For example, they might say, we used to believe slavery was okay, but now we don't. If there were moral absolutes, well then moral beliefs wouldn't change. How do we respond? Well, we can ask the relativists if we've morally progressed in changing our country's slavery laws. Assuming they say yes, we can point out the fact that progress implies an objective moral standard that our society better conforms to today than it did 150 plus years ago. But if there's an objective moral standard that we've progressed toward, well then morality is not relative. So the relativist either has to give up on the idea that we've progressed morally in order to keep relativism, or reject relativism to keep the idea of moral progress. I'm Carlo Broussard with a ready reason for Catholic Answers, Catholic.com.
EWTN, Communicating the Faith.
And I wanted to tell you guys how great your show is, because I listen to you guys for every day for the past 5.5 months. It's because of you guys that I came to the Catholic faith. Now I'm going to church on Sunday for the first time, because I just got out yesterday from jail. And I got my mom to go too, and my girlfriend is also going with me. Wow. She's willing to give the Catholic faith a try.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Call now with your question. 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Thanks so much for being with us. I am Cy Kellett, your host. It is Flip Flop Friday here at Catholic Answers, so I'm not wearing shoes. And Trent Horn is our guest. We're talking with atheists about why are you an atheist? And if you're an atheist and you'd like to call and share that with us, we really enjoy the conversation. Just give a call, 888-318-7884. John in Los Alamitos, California, listening on the Catholic Answers app is up next. John, thank you so much for your call. Why are you an atheist, John?
Well, you know what, I think I might have just, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah,
sure.
Okay. I used to be Christian, and I liked the lifestyle. I really didn't have any problem with it, but I really started to believe that a lot of this was really about making ourselves feel better about our really rather bad situation in the universe. And I did read Trent's book, Answering Atheism.
Okay.
I thought it was a really well-written book. I recommend it to both atheists and Christian people alike. And in the book, he kind of talks about, you know, moral values. If there were no God, there wouldn't be these moral values. And he could probably explain it a lot better than I could. And I read that, and I was kind of like almost convinced, yeah, that's why we make up religion, is because we're so uncomfortable with that we get like 70 to 90 years of existence. And that's only if we're very, very lucky. A lot of people get far less than that. And then, poof, we're gone forever. There's no further existence. It's just this blackness for eternity. And, you know, if a child is murdered, we want there to be some justice in the afterlife for this child, and then we want some punishment for the murderer, who may, if there's not evidence to convict him in a secular court, he would get away with this with no punishment at all. And then I think we're just so uncomfortable with the experience of a person like Adolf Hitler being exactly the same after death as the experience of a 2-year-old that dies of leukemia or something.
Well, John, let me jump in here, because I want to challenge an assumption that I think is lying behind your question or your argument. It seems to be that we shouldn't trust a belief if we believe it because it makes us happy. I'm not sure that follows at all. We mustn't confuse the source of a belief or motives behind a belief with whether the belief is true or false. So, you know, when I believe that my wife has been faithful to our marriage vows, that certainly makes me very happy to believe that. But that doesn't mean, well, you only believe that so that you can have a happy marriage. Well, yes, it does give me a happy marriage, but also there's evidence behind that belief, and it's a good thing. So I think just because a belief makes us feel better, it doesn't follow that we simply invented it in order to make ourselves feel better. I also think that this would count against some aspects of Christian theology, like the idea that you could go to hell. Because if you prefer, because with naturalism or atheism, when you die, no matter how bad you are, you know, you could have, you just poof out of existence, right? So if we want to invent beliefs to make us feel better, I don't know why people would invent a hell that they could end up falling into. Maybe a hell for somebody like Hitler, but not for themselves. So I think that would be my thought there. Do you see where I'm coming from? That just because a belief gives us comfort, that doesn't mean we should be we should, be so suspicious or ready to reject the belief. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and it's a good point. And, but at the same time, because a belief makes us feel comfortable, does not mean it's true.
Sure, absolutely.
If a man believes his wife is being faithful, that doesn't actually mean she is in fact being faithful.
That's correct. Sure, and John, what the man would do is, in that case, he'd say, what's the evidence for? And there's not really any evidence against. And so you've reached a good conclusion there. And of course, that's concluding about a certain person's human behavior. When it comes to God, we argue in a similar way. We'd say, okay, well, what's the evidence for God existing? And is there anything just as serious or just as compelling, if not more compelling, that he does not exist? And I don't think that there's compelling evidence he doesn't. I'm glad you like the book, and we can always talk about it a little more. The point I was making about moral values, and you seem to hone in on this a little bit, about that if God does not exist, I believe people can have their own subjective moral values. I mean, there's things we like or dislike, things I wish Cy would do, things he probably wishes that I would do.
The dishes.
Right. But my argument in that chapter of the book was that there's these weird things in our universe I call moral facts. Not just, objective moral values. Objective is another term for them. But I think moral facts is easier to understand. And that would be that there are these facts, or really these commands for us written in the universe. There's these laws of nature that tell us not just what we will happen if we act a certain way, not just what we will do, but what we should do. Like there are these moral commands that transcend humanity itself. So the idea that there's this one physical fact that, the Earth is 93 million miles away from the sun. Or here's another physical fact. If you push Grandma over the cliff, she will accelerate to terminal velocity and increase, and she will fall to Earth according to the law of gravity. The law of gravity says you push someone over a cliff, they fall down. The law of morality would say with just as much factual certainty, you must not do that. And so for me, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this, that sounds like a command. But a command is only relevant to me if it comes from a person with authority. Like my 3-year-old gives me commands all the time, and I hardly obey them. I tell him he has to make a request instead. But if I was in the Army and a general gave me a command, that'd be a different story. So what are the source of these moral commands if they bind every single human being in all time and place? It seems to me like these commands, like it is always wrong to rape someone. It is always wrong to torture children for fun. These commands got to come from a perfect person or a perfect source of morality. And that pushes a dial, I think, heavily towards God. So that's what I was getting at in that part of the book, and you alluded to. I don't know what you think of that.
Yeah, no, and the example of the rape, nobody wants to be the person that says, rape in certain circumstances might be acceptable. The Russian army in World War II, when they were reoccupying land taken over from the Nazis, right, and going into Germany, they thought rape was perfectly acceptable.
But they were wrong.
And raped German women.
Right. Well, John,
I'm sorry to jump in, but it just cries out for they were wrong, right?
I guess, John, that would be the question. And rape has been a weapon used for millennia, really. People who think it's okay to rape others, are they wrong?
Where do those moral, so to me as an atheist, though, right, it's a great question. Where do those moral values come from, those moral facts? I like that word.
Right.
Where do these moral facts come from?
That's right.
And I think Trent would very well argue that they come from God, that he imprints these moral facts on our soul. As an atheist, I obviously couldn't argue that because I don't believe in God.
But this is interesting, John. This is interesting. I'm sorry, we're at the end of our show, and definitely call back. There's an atheist named J.L. Mackie who said, if these moral facts exist, there'd be a God. But there is no God, so I reject the moral facts. But if you don't reject them, according to Mackie, who's an atheist, if you accept them, God goes along with that package. Something to think about.
John, we're at the end of this hour. Thank you so much for that call. Thanks for everybody who called. If you're on the line, stay on the line because Trent will be with us for our second hour as well. We will continue our conversation with atheists, asking you, why are you an atheist? We'd love to have that conversation with you. If you haven't called and you'd like to share with us why you are an atheist, 888-318-7884 is the number. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Why Are You an Atheist with Trent Horn on Catholic Answers Live right after this.
This is Bishop Robert Barrett. You're listening to Catholic Answers Live.
What difference does it make who or what you worship or what you believe? Sharing the faith used to make some people mad because it challenged their own strong beliefs. Today, it makes a lot of people yawn because they don't have strong beliefs about anything. Religious indifference is the great spiritual sickness of our age, a product of the relativism that dominates modern culture. This is Matt Nelson, and in my new book, Just Whatever, I'll take down the building blocks of religious indifference one by one. We'll look at the different kinds of indifference you tend to encounter in your friends and family members to see where they come from and why they're seductive. What you believe matters. Find out why and what to do about it in my new book, Just Whatever. You can order your copy of Just Whatever by calling 1-888-291-8000, by visiting the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Catholic Answers is a media ministry that serves Christ by explaining and defending the Catholic faith. We help Catholics grow in their faith, we bring former Catholics home, and we lead non-Catholics into the fullness of the truth. Our goal is to be the most trusted and accessible source for sharing, explaining, and defending the Catholic faith through as many media as possible, from personal contact to the most innovative means of mass communication. Have questions? We've got answers. Catholic Answers. Visit us today at Catholic.com or call us with your questions at 619-387-7200.
Let's be honest, a visit to Catholic.com is like a visit to no other place on the internet. We hear it time and time again. Catholic Answers changes people's lives. That's a responsibility and a mission that we take seriously. In the last year alone, we've revised the site and given it an exciting new look and improved functionality. We offer more than 10,000 online articles, videos, and audio files, all available to you free of charge. Every year, we get millions of visitors, from non-Catholics to potential converts, from parents to teens, to our men and women overseas. Our door is open to everyone, and we're looking ahead with big plans for the future, continuing to make Catholic.com even more informative, relevant, and feature-rich. Visit Catholic.com today to see what's happening and find out how you can get involved. And know that we appreciate and welcome all of your support, your testimonials, your prayers, your time, your talents, and your treasures, as we partner together to build a bigger and better Catholic.com.
So, you're listening to Catholic Radio. I think it's safe to say that you probably want to become like Jesus. Theosis is a fancy word used to explain the process of becoming like Christ. It's how God takes sinners like you and me and transforms us into who we were created to be. Basically, rockin' saints. Clumsy Theosis is a podcast where I take 2,000 years of Catholic goodness, draw from the great minds and spiritual masters of the Church, boil it down, distill it, and give practical advice to 21st century Christians. Basically, we'll learn how to do this Catholic thing like a boss. Subscribe to Clumsy Theosis wherever good podcasts are found.
Hi, this is Cy Kellett. Have you ever noticed that people only use the word spectacular in an ad? Well, we have a spectacular online event going on right now. It's our store-wide summer sale, which includes savings of 10 to 25% and more in some cases on every book, tract, CD, DVD, ebook, and MP3 we carry, including all the newest resources from my good friends Tim Staple, Jimmy Akin, Trent Horn, and Carlo Broussard. With lower prices and a great summer selection, it is by far the most spectacular online Catholic summer sale. So log on now and all this month to the shop at shop.catholic.com and take advantage of our very special prices. You know it's all good stuff because it's from the people you know and trust at Catholic Answers.
Welcome to Catholic Answers Live, the program where you participate with your questions about apologetics and evangelization, including the most important theological, spiritual, moral, and social issues facing the world today. Call now with your question for today's guest. Toll free 1-888-31-TRUTH. That's 888-318-7884. Now, from San Diego, Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host, and we come to the apex of the week. That's what we call it when we get to the last hour of the work week. The apex of the week. We call it that especially when Trent is here. Trent Horn is our guest. Trent is apologist here at Catholic Answers, author of many, many things, including Why We're Catholic, his most popular book, and Answering Atheism, the book most likely to be invoked today because we are talking with atheists. If you're an atheist, we welcome your call, 888-318-7884, 888-318-7884. You don't get tired, do you, Trent? You're just ready to go. You fired up? More talk with more atheist people?
I'm only tired on the inside, Cy.
Are you really? Babies will do that to you.
Young children, they have their needs, but that's important to them. What's funny, and this is something I think every parent relates to, is that how you engage with your children, especially under the age of 5, they won't remember it, but you will, and yet their whole life will be shaped by it. It's just a very interesting thing to think about.
I think about that all the time, especially because sometimes I will say stuff. You don't remember when, because my kids are old now, and they have no memory. I mean, it was so important to me. I feel like that kind of hurts that you don't remember that. I know you were 4,
but then it kind of hurts. But then it comes full circle because they're going to say, "Dad, you don't remember when we did this?" You're like, "Wait, what did we do?"
Yeah,
so then it
that
comes
already
full
kind of
circle.
happens.
Right.
There's a lot of that going on. Yeah, but it's true. The stuff that they won't remember is probably the most important stuff you'll ever give them because it's the foundation of their lives.
That's right.
And I'm glad to hear your son orders you around, though. I think that's very cool because I know that 3-year-old.
In the last hour, we were talking about the morality of commands.
Yeah.
And so if moral facts, as I call them, are commands that we ought to behave a certain way, a command is only valid based on the authority of the person who issues the command. So if I spill alphabet soup and it says, "Go home," I'm not going anywhere. If my children scream in the car, "Go home," well, I'll take that into advisement, but probably not. But then if my wife sends me a text, "Go home," oh, wow, that might be something really serious. I should probably go. If the President of the United States,
it
go
is
home,
something
Trent,
serious.
something huge there for you. I need you to handle. Huge. So if there is a command we say is just like, you got to obey this all the time, it's got to have a really, really high authority backing it.
And a wife is a very high authority.
Yes, right there under God, and that which you should obey, love, cherish, and inspires fear every now and then.
A healthy fear, one hopes. What Tim was telling us the other day? Servile fear, and then there's another kind of fear. I can't remember, but it's not good to have servile fear of your spouse. It's okay to have filial fear is the other one, where
yes.
you fear something because it's awesome.
Like fear, like now the Proverbs say, Psalm says, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
Right, yeah. And fear of the wife is beginning of good marriage. Right. We're talking with atheists today. Trent Horn is our guest. 888-31-TRUTH is our number. 888-318-7884. Kevin in Washington listening on 100.7 FM is up next. Kevin, why are you an atheist? Kevin?
Hello. I would say the main reason. Can you guys hear me?
We can. Yes, Kevin. Sure.
Yes.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. I would say the main reason that I am an atheist is I think as soon as you start to make these philosophical arguments, you almost lost the debate, because I think if a God were real, like we just all know, like God would be there, like telling us, like everyone. Yeah, I just can't see a reason. Like we don't have to make a philosophical argument for anything else that exists. Like we don't make a philosophical argument for why a giraffe exists. We just go, we see the giraffe, you know, we know it's there. So and most of the explanations that I've heard are very satisfactory to me. You know, it involves like, oh, well, what's the point of faith then? Or, you know, so something to do with free will. Of course, if everybody just knew God existed, we'd still have free will whether or not to worship. So
right.
I find those arguments pretty unconvincing, and that's like one of many reasons.
Kevin, let's rewind a little bit. You covered a lot of ground here. Number one, I agree with you that to demonstrate that an object in the universe exists, we usually don't use philosophical arguments. We just maybe use visual, photographic, or eyewitness testimony like, hey, here is this object in the space-time universe. But could there be things that exist that we can't see?
Well, I don't think there could be things that exist that we can't measure. No.
Well, I don't. Okay, let me try this. Do you think human beings have free will?
Measure? No, I don't think something can exist that we can't measure in some form. And certainly God, which is all powerful and this, you know, supposedly amazing being. I mean, you know, that would be the easiest thing.
Well,
to
wait,
measure,
Kevin,
you know,
I don't understand this jump either. Just because you can't measure something, how does it show that thing does not exist? All that would show is that you just can't measure it.
Well, I think that's like the very definition.
For example, let me give you this.
To measure
let me ask you a question. How long is my thought that the grass is green?
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
How long is my thought that the grass is... Can you hear me? Hello? Kevin?
Yeah.
I'll repeat it. How long
is your thought
that the grass is green, and how much does my thought that the water is wet weigh?
Well, you certainly could measure something like that with precise enough brain instruments.
Really?
You know?
Wait a minute.
So, I mean, that's a fully measurable thing.
You could say that the thought itself weighs something? That my thought...
It weighs something, but weight is not your only measurement. You know, you could say, yeah, you definitely can measure thoughts. I mean, that's what, like, a brain scan is. It's not a weight measurement. Well, you know, I'm not particularly familiar with how brain science works, but... you definitely can measure thoughts. You know, thoughts appear in different parts of the brain when you measure them. So, yeah.
Right, but what you see in the brain are electrical signals. You can't actually see the thought itself, right? Because what I'm seeing right here is I see the wavy green grass. I'm seeing it right now in my mind. Yet if you cut open my head and you look in there, you can't see the grass.
Okay.
So what I'm saying, I'm just simply saying that things can exist that we don't see. I just don't see how it follows that there aren't things that are beyond what we can see, touch, taste, hear, or feel. There's lots of other things I could put in there. For example, time. You can't see, touch, taste, hear, or feel time, but time is real, right?
You can measure time. I mean, you're talking about everything that's physically perceptive, but that's not what I said. I said measure. You can measure it all. But I think that's kind of
let's just go
losing track of.
Let's just go back, because what I'm trying to do is, if you define things in a certain way so that God is not even possible, then we can't even get the discussion started. I mean, here I'll just try another one that should be easy. Is it possible that there are other universes that are causally disconnected from our universe?
Can I just cover that real quick, because I think before I lose my thought.
Sure.
I'm not as good at being a train of thought as you may be, but before I lose my thought on that, of course God is possible. I don't know how saying that you would need to be able to measure God makes God impossible. God could simply appear to everyone, announce his existence to everyone, right? God could do that.
Well,
right?
what would that, Kevin, what would that look like? Let me put it this way. How could God do that in a way
it would be easy.
That makes it different than what advanced aliens could do?
That makes it different than what an advanced alien could do?
Right, because if just a big man in the sky came down...
I wouldn't need, personally... Right, well, I understand what you're saying.
There's one other point I'd like to bring up, too. Would you agree that... Because you're saying, well, God is hidden from everybody, or in the sense that not everyone believes God exists. And you were making the assumption that if God existed, he ought to make it the case that everyone believes in him. This is often called the problem of divine hiddenness. But one point I would raise is that it seems that for the vast majority of human beings, God is not hidden. Would you agree with that factual part of the argument?
Sorry, I missed it. For the vast majority of human beings,
God is not hidden.
Are we... Kevin, are you still there?
Did we lose him?
Yeah, we were having trouble that whole conversation, so I think we lost him.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Maybe he'll come back a little later.
I'm going to leave it on hold, and either that line will straighten out. Can you check that line every now and then for me, Thomas? And we'll come back to him.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get Kevin back in a later call.
Yeah, because we don't want to just let him go like that.
Yeah.
You got, but while he's gone, while we're waiting, you have a podcast.
Yes, I do.
Council of Trent. I just am always curious about how it's going over there at Council of Trent. What's new?
Yeah, so you can learn more about it at TrentHornPodcast.com, and it's my podcast where I do 1 to 2 episodes a week on how to explain our faith, how to defend it, and we dive deep into different topics. So we have done topics. Last week I broke down the LGBT acronym and all the letters that come after it to understand these different issues and how to talk about them more. I've done episodes on how to explain purgatory, how to answer certain moral issues and moral objections. Next week is going to be an interesting one. So I've asked people to submit anonymously questions about Catholic sexuality, in particular, what's okay for married couples and what's not okay. And I think a podcast is a good venue to discuss this because we can, unlike live radio, we can kind of be more frank about it and just get right into the heart of the matter. And these are questions many people have.
Right.
That I want to present people with a way of navigating through them. Lots of you have questions about these, about what is morally appropriate for married couples and what isn't, and what should we do when we struggle with different kind of issues in this area. And that'll be released, that'll be next week's podcast. But if you'd like to learn more about the Council of Trent, you can go to, iTunes or Google Play, just get Council of Trent, COUNSEL, or you can learn about the podcast and support it to get access to premium content like episodes only for subscribers, articles only for subscribers, the ability to submit questions for me to answer, live video chats, and that is all at TrentHornPodcast.com.
I'm really glad you're doing that married couples one, because I've heard you talk about that before. I think it's extremely helpful. I don't know if there's enough frank talk about that. A quick one. Acceptable or not in marriage? Red wine with fish.
Well, I'm partial to red wine, so I probably wouldn't argue with you on that, but I think we could leave it up to the prudential judgment of the couple involved. Though I think red wine is usually more for like a heavier meat.
Yeah.
But I'm not a big white person either, except when we went on the Catholic Answers cruise to Europe, the white wine of Austria.
It's really good.
Wunderbar.
Wunderbar.
Wunderbar. Very
Glad
good.
to hear it. TrentHornPodcast.com is where you go to join up or to listen to what Trent's up to. TrentHornPodcast.com. We'll take a quick break. Be right back with more Why Are You an Atheist with Trent Horn right after this on Catholic Answers Live.
There's only one Catholic Answers Live.
It's the start of a new day for Morning Catholic Radio.
Isn't it the case that when you're stirring food in a pot, it burns less, because it's not just sitting there?
What about your forearms? You get some nice buff forearms when you're doing that stirring.
Yeah, that's true. I can totally get this for you, Gloria. You don't need any help stirring the pot.
You know, you all make it so easy for me.
Morning Glory, Catholic from the start. Weekday mornings, 7 Eastern on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Homeschool Connections, an online provider of courses for your Catholic homeschool, is a sponsor of Catholic Answers Live. Homeschool Connections website is homeschoolconnections.com.
Catholic Answers Live is brought to you in part by CatholicSingles.com, the website for Catholics who want to meet others who share their Catholic values for faith, fellowship, and love. You can learn more at CatholicSingles.com. Catholic Answers Live thanks CatholicSingles.com for their generous support.
Call now with your question, 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Trent Horn is our guest this hour, and we're talking with atheists. If you are an atheist, we'd love to chat with you. 888-31-TRUTH is the number, 888-318-7884. We go now to Steve in Cincinnati, listening on 740 AM there in Cincinnati. Steve, thanks so much for calling. Why are you an atheist?
I'm an atheist for reasons such as arguments that I get from Christians as far as, and I think you brought it up earlier in the show, that there must be a God because the chance that life happened is so rare and the probability is so small that there must be. When my question to you is, isn't it possible that it just did happen by chance because the length of the universe is so old and it's been around for so long that it is possible that life just happened to be, just happened to form and then start?
Steve, that's a great question, and I think it reflects a common misunderstanding some people have about the particular argument that I gave. You're correct that some people do make the argument that the odds of human life appearing within our universe are so low that their God must have intervened somewhere in the evolutionary process or the formation of our planet and our solar system for life to exist. Whereas if the universe has been around for 13.7 billion years, it could just be the case that because the universe is large and been around for a long time, that this is the reason that, you know, we exist because we're the lucky ones that made it. A minor point on this, and something you may find interesting, scientists have long wondered whether our universe was teeming with life. That if our universe is so big and so old, this is called the Fermi paradox. It's named after physicist Enrico Fermi. And he wondered, where are they? Where are all these other life forms in the universe? And a recent paper actually published by Sandberg, Drexler, and Ord out of Oxford called Dissolving the Fermi Paradox says there's between a 40 to 80% chance that actually we are alone in the universe. So just kind of an aside there. But the particular argument I gave was not of that kind. Rather, my argument was that our universe as a whole could have been different. The laws of nature, in particular, the constants and initial conditions of the beginning of the universe, could have been different. And statistically speaking, they should have been life prohibiting. We should have lived in a universe that was either, not that we should have lived there, we wouldn't be there. The universe, statistically speaking, should either be the size of an atom or be large but only contain hydrogen atoms. It's quite improbable and amazing we have a life-permitting universe, given what the laws of nature could be. And there's really only three ways to explain why the universe's laws of physics, the laws of nature, are life permitting. They are either necessary, they are the product of chance, or they are the product of design. And as I argue in my book, Answering Atheism, and others have argued, necessity and chance don't work for various reasons. There's no reason to think the laws of physics are necessary. We can't discover them by mathematics, for example. Different models of physics, string theory and things like that, are based on the idea they could be different. And chance is something we rule out because we rule out chance in other extremely improbable scenarios that yield a valuable end. The common example I give is winning a royal flush, getting a royal flush in 10 games of poker in a row. So the idea here is not that it's that life in the universe is improbable in how it evolved and formed, though it may very well be. It's that the universe itself, the odds of it are so low. An example I gave in the previous hour is that you would be more likely to find a randomly marked atom somewhere in the known universe. I just mark one, I say go fetch, and you found it at Alpha Centauri. You'd be more likely to do that than you would having a universe by chance alone be life permitting. And so I think that incredibly improbable scenario cries out for some kind of an explanation. So that's essentially that particular argument from design called the fine-tuning argument that I was making. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you see where I'm saying, Steve?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Steve. Thanks very much. 888-318-7884 is our number, 888-31-TRUTH. Trent Horn is our guest. I'm going to confess something to you, Trent. I am one of those people who thinks we're alone in the universe as far as like other creatures, intelligent
intelligent
creatures.
Life.
Yeah, intelligent life.
Well, I think that's...
we're marginally intelligent.
Right. Now that
you could call this intelligent.
Now there are different solutions to the Fermi paradox as to why we haven't observed aliens and what the reasons might be for that.
Yeah.
Are there other intelligent civilizations? One argument is that the hurdles for other life to reach the intelligent level are too high, and so they never evolve at all. Another solution is that other intelligent civilizations end up destroying themselves before they develop interstellar travel, which is why they haven't arrived here. And the final one, another one, which I find to be very humorous and interesting, is called the zoo hypothesis. And that's the idea that we're such a backwards, strange planet. We are the victims of the Prime Directive. And so aliens know about us, they know we're here, but they keep us in a kind of galactic zoo force field so that we aren't aware of them and other people can't come and borrow us, because it would be a shame for these advanced civilizations to mess with such primitive beings like us.
Yeah. There's also the we're first theory. Have you ever heard that? There's plenty of intelligent life in the universe. It just hasn't happened yet. We're first. Like, that's an actual theory.
Like they haven't evolved yet?
No, like somebody's got to be the first, and we're first. That's why we haven't met anybody else yet.
We're the first to become intelligent?
Yes.
Okay, but others might be on their way.
Right, exactly.
It's possible.
I don't buy any of it, though. I actually am one of those, I think I'm in the minority maybe now. I don't know. I don't think there's any alien civilizations. I don't think there's any intelligent life out there.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. I lack a belief in intelligent beings, but I am open to evidence proving their existence.
I think there might actually be a preponderance of evidence, or a tilt in the direction of the evidence suggesting we're it.
It's straight 50-50 for me. Maybe 55-45.
I wish I knew what Carlo Broussard thought about this. I wish I knew whether he believed
You'll
in
have to ask him
aliens.
next time he's on the show. But this is interesting to bring up alien side, because we had another caller in the previous hour talk about this, and I want to get another caller in before we go to a break. A lot of times people will talk about God as if, well, you don't. Well, one caller the other hour said, you don't believe in Santa. You don't believe in Santa Claus. I don't believe in Santa Claus. You don't believe in God. Well, when you talk about God like he's Santa Claus or Harry Potter, that prejudices the discussion, because we know Santa doesn't exist because we have positive evidence he does not. We have been to the North Pole. We can track him by radar. We buy presents on Christmas. They don't show up magically. If they showed up magically, I believed. I buy them. That shows Santa, he ain't coming to my house, that's for sure. So, now,
so my kids aren't listening.
I mean, maybe he's out there, children. Don't listen to Uncle Trent.
Don't listen to Uncle Trent. That's going to be our theme when Trent is on. Okay, so but your point.
But the point being that maybe I should just use fairies from now on, so I'm not so I don't get death threats with the holiday spirit. The point being is that when we compare God, like, well, where's the evidence, yes or no? And someone says, I don't believe in God, just like I don't believe in the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Someone's still going to give me hate mail over that. I'd say, well, why can't you just say you don't believe in God like you don't believe in extraterrestrials? It's not a silly idea. It's not a childish idea. It's just that, yeah, they could be out there. Let's wait for the evidence.
Yeah,
but that's what's strange to me. It's like, why are you moving your prejudices into the discussion? That's going to hamper your ability to assess the evidence.
Right.
Because I'm sorry, we're not Spock. We're not rational computers. That people say, well, I've looked at these arguments for the existence of God. They don't convince me. Well, yeah, if you start with them thinking they're arguments for someone who's like Santa Claus, a philosophical argument for Santa Claus or tooth fairies, I'm going to approach that. I'm going to have a kind of an attitude grading against it. But if it's a philosophical argument for something that might exist, like not even a philosophical argument, that's an empirical argument for aliens, philosophical argument for free will, moral facts, objective aesthetic value, possible worlds. God is like these philosophical concepts. He's not some empirical thing in the universe. I'm sorry, that's like the number one thing I want to make a bumper sticker and send to my atheist friends. It's a philosophical question.
Yeah.
So we got to do philosophy here. And that's okay.
Yeah, it is, right. But it's very hard. Like,
science informs the arguments.
Sure.
But you got to do the philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah. I still don't believe in aliens. I don't know if you were trying to convince me of that.
No, that'd be an empirical argument.
888-318-7884 is the number. We're talking with atheists about why you are atheists. We have very little time before the break, but Sam in Coney, New York, maybe you can give us your question, and we'll. Can you hold on through the break if we're not able to get a full answer in?
I would like to give you a compliment. You have a very civilized and spiritual show.
Oh, thank you.
These days, you're a rare commodity in the airways. That's what I want to give you a compliment first.
Thank you.
My call is only going to take only 2 or 3 minutes, and I will summarize it.
Okay. You know what? 2 or 3 minutes. Sam, you got to hold on through the break. Can you do that?
Yes, I will be glad to do that for you.
Okay, thank you so much, Sam. I'm sorry to do that to you. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with Sam's comments about God and a few more, folks, too. We hope we'll get into in the top of the hour. We're talking with atheists today about why are you an atheist? Our guest is Trent Horn, and we'll be right back after this on Catholic Answers Live.
Catholic Answers Live.
With the 50th anniversary of the release of Humanae Vitae approaching, you can expect fresh attacks on Catholic teaching from outside and, unfortunately, inside the Church. That's why Catholic Answers thought it critical to provide a vigorous affirmation of Paul VI's prophetic wisdom with our newest book, Inseparable: 5 Perspectives on Sex, Life, and Love in Defense of Humanae Vitae. We asked 5 distinguished contributors to reflect on and defend Humanae Vitae from 5 perspectives, each of them compelling, together forming a mosaic of truth. Don't be caught uninformed when the topic comes up among friends, family, and coworkers. Order your copy of Inseparable today by calling 1-888-291-8000 or visiting the shop at Catholic.com.
Are faith and science compatible? Are they friends or foes? Catholic Answers magazine is tackling that question and others with our very special Faith and Science issue, delving deep into what is arguably one of the most debated topics of our day. Want to be sure to get your copy? Subscribe right now to the best Catholic apologetics magazine anywhere by calling 818-487-2011 or going to CatholicAnswersMagazine.com. We'll take an in-depth look at the Catholic view of evolution with Dr. Stacy Trasenkos. We'll review the most common misconceptions about how faith and science stand in opposition with Dr. Chris Kazor. And apologist Trent Horn will refute the skeptic's claim that something can come from nothing, plus so much more. Don't miss out on what will be a virtual handbook on one of the most important issues of our day. Call 818-487-2011 or go to CatholicAnswersMagazine.com right now to get subscriptions for yourself and those you love. Share the faith, defend the faith. Catholic Answers Magazine. From Catholic Answers, the most trusted name in Catholic apologetics.
I'm Tom Price.
And I'm Gloria Purvis. Tomorrow, a special 4th of July show featuring Monsignor Pope.
Please join us. It's Morning Glory, 7 a.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Now back to Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host. Trent Horn is our guest This hour, we're talking with atheists about why are you an atheist? We're also talking with the very polite and friendly Sam in Coney, New York. Sam, sorry we made you wait. What was it you wanted to say?
Thank you. Thank you for taking my phone call again. I appreciate it.
Go right ahead.
Sam?
My comment is from both sides. My comments are from both sides' point of view. From organized religious point of view, they keep using this word God, 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 create everything. Obviously, there is a creation. Nothing has happened without any force behind it. The biggest example I use with my atheist friend when they argue about the organized religious, and I'm talking about Bibles, Torah, and Quran, is these days we can take a piece of DNA from someone's human being body. Biggest example is the stem cells as an example.
Okay.
And take it to someone else and culture it. That stem cell knows about existence of Sam or Trent. I don't think so. So our relationship to our creator is that cell.
Okay.
We can argue with that point. We can go scientifically, but at the end of the day, when we do the culture, the cell doesn't know about existence of the place that the source came from. So there is a creation.
Okay.
From the organized religious point of view, I have a lot of issues. The stories are not making any sense. If you read all the 3 books, they talk about creation the same way. Well, God created the world in 7 days. Well, I doubt it took 7 days to create this world.
Right.
Okay? Because we live in a complex world.
Right.
We have universe that we cannot describe.
Okay.
We will find fossils that we do not know the age of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I want to say.
Sure.
I'm not saying that you both sides are wrong.
Sure.
But I have come
Sam?
to this conclusion that
Let me jump in here, Sam, because that's something I've heard a lot from people who say, well, I believe in God, but I've got a lot of trouble with your religion because, you say, I believe in the Bible. Bible says the world was made in 7 days, but look how complex it is. Things have been evolving for billions of years. How can that be the case? And I think what I would say here is that, at least in the Catholic Church, people are free to interpret Genesis. You could believe the earth is young and it was made in 7 days, but the text does not require that you believe that. We have to ask, what's the genre of the text? Like, what is its literary genre? What kind of text is it? I would say that it's not a newspaper account. It's not what you would see from a videotape of the event. That Genesis, most scholars would say it's in the genre of epic poetry. So that means you can use poetry to tell truths in a non-literal way. And I think it would make sense for God that if Genesis was written, 3,000 years ago, it was, pick a time approximate, 3,000 years ago, people 3,000 years ago knew way less than we did about the world. They didn't know about evolution, didn't know about all these things. And so if God's going to reveal to him that he made the world, he can't just tell them quantum physics. So it makes sense that he might talk to them and reveal that he's the creator in a non-literal way. It's like if a child asks me, where do babies come from? Let's say like a 6 or 7-year-old, and I don't want to scandalize them. I might say, well, mommies and daddies who are married and love each other, they express their love for one another in a very special way, and the daddy gives the mommy a seed, and the seed grows in the mommy's tummy, and it becomes a baby, and then the baby comes out of mommy. Now, that's true, but if I put that down in a biology exam, I'd probably flunk. But it's true enough to make my point to this child who's still trying to grasp and understand these things. And in fact, Sam, I'll give you a clue in the text that I think points towards that Genesis and the talk about the 7 days. It's poetic and non-literal, that it's not chronological. I don't know how much of it you've read, but what does God make on the first day? Do you remember?
I read all the 3 books.
Sure.
Let's not to stick on the Genesis. Torah has the same story. Quran has the same story.
Right. Well, Genesis.
Let me just say something. When you come to the organized religious, you can corrupt it the way you describe it. It's poetry. It's not poetry.
Yeah.
People taking the word of the books, and enforce the things. Look at the word that we read right now.
Uh-huh.
The organized religious corrupted in every direction. Every direction. When I ask a Catholic to convert to become a reborn Christian, I said, how did you become reborn Christians?
Uh-huh.
Can you describe that to me? They can. So if you stating that organized religious is poetry, I agree with you.
Wait.
But that's not the case anymore.
Wait, Sam, I don't understand your concern here. What I'm saying is the Bible has different genres in it. Some of it is poetic. Some of it's historical. Some of it's a list of tribes. It's a census. There's different genres. We have to see what truth is God communicating through these genres. My point about Genesis was that in the first day, God makes the light. The fourth day, he makes the sun. But even ancient people knew the sun makes the light. So that's a clue that the writer, that Genesis chapter 1 is describing creation in a poetic way that's not meant to be taken literally, but it's just saying God made the world and he made human beings in his image. Now, the second point you raised was that, well, organized religion, human beings corrupt things, and some of us aren't capable of explaining why we believe what we do. I don't see, how does that show an organized religion, a religion is false just because there's some people who can't explain it. There's people who can't explain atheism very well, or other religions. Just because there's people that can't explain it doesn't mean it's not true, right?
I think you misunderstood me about the corrupt religious.
What did you mean?
If you're saying that, well, exactly. What you're saying, and I'm going to use your own words, you are saying that, well, it's poetry. You should have your own interpretation. Or at that time, nobody knew how to talk to the people. I think that's a little bit disregard to the people at that time. Believe it or not, the society in 2,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago, and we have examples of that in old Egyptian society, they knew how to calculate the math better than us without computer. And how do we know they didn't have any computer and the computers were collapsed?
But Sam, how would, for example, ancient Mesopotamian people that God speaks to, how would he tell them the universe is 13 billion years old when they don't even have the concept of a billion?
Well, if you're going to go through that discussion, then you're on the other side, not on the side that there was a creator for everything. Because let me just say something to you. If you look at the ancient civilization, they were very advanced. They were very, very advanced. What happened to them, we don't know. We have no idea what happened. Because history has proven we as humans, we destroyed the past. How we destroy it, that's up to us. Look at what is going on today and how we're destroying the past 100 and 120 years histories.
Sure.
We try to reinvent it. So no one is there that tell me that organized religious was not corrupt. Nobody can tell me that.
Well,
because it's corrupt.
I think I would disagree with you on that point, that we have good evidence, textual reliability and history from the Bible, both the Old Testament and the New. And for me, that makes me believe in one particular holy book. I believe in the Bible because I believe in Jesus. I think the Bible reveals, taken as a human document, Jesus lived, said he was God, taught, was crucified, and rose from the dead, vindicating his claims to divinity. And Jesus quoted from Genesis. He quoted from the Old Testament. And so if he can have confidence in it, then so can I, and I can have confidence in the church he founded. So that might be how I would approach your question you were raising, and definitely call back again if you'd like to go more in depth on that.
Sam, thank you very, very much. We have time. We have time. Let's go to David in Manchester, New Hampshire, watching on YouTube. Thanks for watching on YouTube. David, why are you an atheist?
Hi. Well, I would say that the primary reason is that I've really tried and I haven't really. There's kind of a lack of experience of a God in my life. I would just give you a little background information. I would say that, going back to my early childhood, I've had some very hard times in my life, and I really did kind of try. I prayed and I tried to develop a spiritual life and a relationship with God. And, in all fairness, I should say that there were times early on when I kind of thought I was starting to, but it never really amounted to anything. And I've kind of tried to recapture that, but I haven't. And today it really just seems to me that that there's nothing there, that there's no God there. I just wonder what your thoughts on that were.
Well, David, You said your spiritual life did not amount to anything. What did you want it to be that it wasn't?
Well, I guess I would say that I kind of wanted it to be something where I would really kind of feel God's presence, that it would be like he was really, it would be like he was there. It would be, I could kind of, I could sense him, I guess I would say. I mean, I know I didn't expect that, you know, I would
a burning bush.
Like, physically.
Like no burning bush or anything like that, but just sense that he's there. What did you do to try to cultivate that feeling of the presence of God?
Yeah, I think that sums it up well. And I mean, I would say I didn't necessarily literally, expect that there would be like a literal physical sign that I would see, but I was kind of, what I guess I was kind of looking for would be to kind of know in my heart and to kind of sense that he was there.
Mm-hmm. Sure, and I understand this, David. I think that this is something many people experience, and they call it spiritual dryness. And this is something I've written about in my book, Answering Atheism, and I've told to others. I think that God blesses some people with like an overwhelming emotional sense that he's there, and other people he hasn't blessed them with that, or really very much at all. And I am one of those people that has not really been blessed with this deep feeling of the presence of God. It's something I always try to cultivate in prayer and receiving the sacraments. And I always feel like I've felt down about that sometimes. Well, why don't I feel it more? And the only time I really super strong felt it was I was in Jerusalem at Calvary itself on a pilgrimage, and I just felt God speaking to me saying, you're not able to feel me, so you can help other people come to know me. And that I really felt compelled there, the idea that we can know God exists, we can know that Jesus is his son, that he established a church, and what we need to look at is, well, is there good reasons for this? And maybe we can, develop a sense of God in our own lives, and sometimes it takes time to do that. It takes a lot of time in prayer, in meditation, in spiritual direction. I might recommend, David, that if you want to develop a close, say, I really want to feel the presence of God more, talking to someone like even, I don't know what your religious background is, but finding like a Catholic priest or someone who is a religious person to help you through that. Because it sounds like you would like God to be there. You're just wondering, like, why can't you feel it? Is that kind of where you're at?
I would say very often, yes.
Mm-hmm. I guess I'd also put it to you this way. Why not just live as if God is there, and whether you feel it or not, give that time? But what harm would there be in just living in that, well, there's good reasons to see God exists. I want God to exist. It's not a crazy idea. And I think the more that you live with the idea that God is there, that I think maybe if you just start with, I'm going to say, start here in the head, like, yeah, it makes sense. God makes sense. And even if I can't feel it, when it starts more in the head and you live that way continuously, then I think it's more likely to migrate down to the heart. So maybe living that way, at least mentally, intellectually, and then praying, saying, God, it would be helpful. I would really like to be able to feel your presence, but I will trust you. I will trust you with whatever gift of your presence you choose to give me, because we're not owed anything from God. I mean, he died for our sins. We weren't owed any of that. I'm just grateful that he saved me from an eternity apart from him. Everything after that is gravy, kind of, for me, is how I feel. So what do you think about that? Starting with living it mentally, thanking God, saying, God, you are good, and I want to be free from sin, be close to you, acknowledging him head continuously, and let it slowly migrate to heart. What do you think that might be a helpful path forward?
I think it might, yeah.
Okay, why don't you do that, and then if you ever need any other advice or help with that, feel free to call back. You can look at our Catholic Answers radio calendar at Catholic Answers Live at Catholic.com, and you might enjoy talking to our chaplain, Father Hugh Barber, because this definitely might be something that falls under his purview, and you could get a little advice from our chaplain. I see him for spiritual direction, actually, and it's a wonderful experience. And so having someone mature and grounded in the faith to help you through spiritual formation, I think it'd be helpful. So look on our calendar for The Chaplain is In with Father Hugh. Try that head to heart, then call back, and I'll pray for our listeners. I'll ask our listeners to pray for you as you continue this journey so that you can grow closer to God.
Okay, David?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. God bless you, brother. You know, I do spiritual direction with Father Hugh, too, and he said I'm farther along than you. We were just discussing that.
Well, I think that the point he was telling you that size, he wanted you to have an opportunity to overcome pride. It was a test to grow in that area.
No, he just straight out said, wow, you're way farther along than Trent Horn.
Dang it, I forgot. The seal
you.
of confession only applies in confession, I guess.
It wasn't confession. I don't want you to think about that. Okay, I'm just kidding, Trent. That didn't really happen. I just want to say that in case someone's like, that is shocking that Cy would say that. It's not shocking because it's Friday afternoon and I say goofy stuff.
But here's the problem. Cy, I need a lot of help in the spiritual life. So if you're further along than me, that's like the guy who came in after the guy who was last in the marathon. It's not a lot of bragging rights.
No, it's like the guy who they carried in a stretcher to the end of the marathon. Hey, you have what's this thing that I've been told that you have? The case against contraception.
Oh, yes. So in a week, we will be commemorating the 50th anniversary of Humanae Vitae, Pope Paul VI encyclical reaffirming the Church's teaching on contraception. You bet everybody's going to be talking about that and how they disagree with the Church on contraception. So I created a DVD I think is very helpful to explore that issue. It talks about the philosophical, the logical, theological, and social medical reasons to be against contraception. So I go through all of that through the encyclical. You talk about the commission that formed before Humanae Vitae and the encyclical itself, arguments against contraception, and why natural family planning is better, holier, and healthier for people than the use of contraceptives. And that's in my new DVD, The Case Against Contraception.
And it's on sale.
That's right.
It's coming out on sale because almost everything we've got, books, audios, CDs, DVDs, tracks, digital products, it's all 10 to 20% off or more at shop.catholic.com, including The Case Against Contraception, due early next week. Perfect timing for the 50th anniversary of Humanae Vitae. Go to shop.catholic.com today and begin saving.
Got questions? Visit us today at Catholic.com.
The wisdom of Mother Angelica.
The devil will always do his best to tempt you into sin until you get to that place where you love sin. That's what he wants. He wants you down there with him. And not because he loves you, he hates you. When you do what the enemy tempts you to do, he does it out of pure hatred.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
St. Paul's street evangelization isn't like other evangelism you might have seen on the streets. We don't yell, and we don't force anyone to pay attention to us. Instead, St. Paul's street evangelization is committed to presenting a positive, passionately Catholic presence to a world hungry for truth. For more information, or to start a chapter of your own, go to www.streetevangelization.com. That's streetevangelization.com. It's time to do our part.
Call now with your question. 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Thanks so much for being with us. We're discussing why are you an atheist with atheists. If you're an atheist and you'd like to share with us why, we just love that. We really appreciate it. Trent Horn is our guest. Answering Atheism is among his many books. Why We're Catholic is also another of his books. And you deal with some of this in Why We're Catholic, about why we believe in God, for example.
That's right.
Why We're Catholic, Our Reasons for Faith, Hope, and Love is the name of the book. And I was able to inform Trent of this. He did not know this fact. These are his two best-selling books of his many books.
I was aware that Why We're Catholic had done fairly well. A lot of people have really enjoyed that book, and I'm very happy to hear that. But I did not know Answering Atheism was number 2. I think it's a big subject out there, and it's important for us to reach out to people. And I think what also was helpful was when I wrote that book, and that was about 6 years ago, actually. Really, I tried to strike a balance in having something that was comprehensive yet accessible on that subject from a Catholic viewpoint. And there were a lot of different books on atheism, but some were higher level or they were kind of shorter. I wanted to try to walk both of those two terrains, and I think that's gone well. Though I am really itching, actually, not from like anything physical. I don't have a rash or anything. I am itching. I am motivated. I'd love to return to the topic of atheism again, I'm not sure in what form. So, because I find it to be fascinating philosophically, scientifically. So maybe in a few years.
Yeah. All right. Argue from the pro-God side, though. You're way better at that.
Well, I've thought about even one way of maybe going really, really in depth, and another being something where I go out and talk to many of these leading atheists you see on YouTube and debates on college campuses, and have more of a kind of a dialogue type format with those who disagree, who represent the other side very well. So we'll see what comes of it.
Oh, all right. Well, that's something to look forward to. Corey in Vancouver is watching on YouTube. Thanks for joining us on YouTube there, Corey. Why are you an atheist? Corey, did I miss you? Oh, hang on. I pushed the wrong button. Corey, that was all me. That's a Friday afternoon rookie mistake. Corey, have I got you now? No.
Hello?
Oh, hi, Corey. Sorry. I pushed a wrong
Hello?
button. Why are you an atheist, Corey? You're on the air with Trent.
Hi, guys. Well, I guess you could sum it up. I mean, there's so many reasons, because I've been looking a long time, but hiddenness would probably encapsulate that.
Okay.
And I just want to encourage Trent, I know it's his go-to to jump to the philosophical arguments. To a guy like me, that really undermines your case. Christianity makes specific claims about intersecting with the world, and I think we can test those claims, or we should be able to. Anyways, if you're claiming that they are the case,
what kind
and
of?
I'd really like to see you guys take on things like why prayer doesn't work. And
What
other
kind of claims are you talking about? Like,
well, I mean, I can't speak for you. Every
Sure.
Christian seems to have slightly different claims, but you presumably believe that intercessory prayer has an effect in the world. You believe, I guess, in a soul that somehow interacts with a brain or a body.
Okay.
You believe in the devil. I assume that means that you believe that there's a supernatural intersection in the world of his actions. So what I'm saying is we can look for these effects. You tell me which one's the strong one, and I'll convert right now on the phone. I've got a bowl of water.
You have a bowl of for baptism.
He can't baptize himself.
Yes, auto baptism is not valid. But it seems to me what you're saying is that we should be able to empirically detect the effect of supernatural agents. But by definition, isn't the only thing that we could detect in this world natural events, and then we have to make some kind of philosophical inference that it's a supernatural agent?
Well, we can certainly detect the effects. We don't have to know the cause. If you're telling me that you can multiply loaves to 5,000, let's do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I could do that, sure, we could test that, but I can't do that, and Christians don't claim they can do that. They can only claim that a guy who walked the earth 2,000 years ago was able and is actually still able to do that. So for me, though, Christianity, or you could put it this way, classical theism, does hold that God sustains the world that we live in. He created it and sustains it. But the arguments we would use would be philosophical in nature. But I don't see what's wrong with philosophical arguments, because it seems to me that every time I hear a skeptic kind of raise these objections, saying that, well, we need to have things empirical, philosophy is not a good way to go about it, they kind of make arguments about why these traditional arguments aren't the best way to go. But that presupposes that arguments have validity, they can prove things. So what do you think about the idea that a deductive argument, you have a premise, logical reasoning, a premise, and then a conclusion, you can prove that conclusion. Do you disagree with that?
No, I don't disagree with that.
Okay.
I think you might have misunderstood me slightly. I'm not necessarily against philosophical arguments, but I'm trying to keep it interesting and brief.
Oh, yeah, sure. I agree with you, Corey.
Me off here.
Sorry, Corey, I see what you're saying, like the effects. Like, well, if God answers prayers, why don't we test that? Here's my other problem with that. That when we do scientific experiments, we have conclusions based on the fact that the laws of nature operate with regularity, right?
Yes, I think we all make the assumption that the world is comprehensible and that it that it's comprehensible.
Right, and it's regular, so we can make these conclusions about gravity because the laws of nature, these natural forces, operate with regularity. They don't, so they just are automatic processes. But does God, let's say take prayer, for example. Let's do a study to answer prayer. Does God answer prayers in an automatic way?
No, of course not.
So then how could we do a scientific study on prayer if it's not a natural process? It's one that he does. And let me add one more monkey wrench into that for trying to prove God. When you do a scientific study, you have to make sure it's blind or double blind. The person you experiment on can't know they're in an experiment, or they'll act differently. And that's why when people do experiments, they don't know what they're in on. It's blind or double blind. But because God is omniscient, you can never do a blind study on him. So if we try to study prayer, say, we're going to prove if prayer works, God might say, I don't feel like being in this particular experiment, but thanks anyways, guys. Rather, I think because the supernatural is not a natural process, we don't use the tools of science to investigate it. We use the tools of philosophy to infer the existence of supernatural reality.
And we'll leave it there, Corey, because we are at the end. Trent Horn, thanks very much.
No problem, sir.
Really
Glad to be here.
It's always great when you're here. I love that when we do this, the Why Are You an Atheist shows, too. Well, that is the end of the work week. Well, maybe catch our show on the weekend. Don't know. But in the meantime, Jesus Christ is the light of the nations, and we'll see you next time on Catholic Answers Live.